This is a really hard question. I have good friends who work in other organizations. Some of them are FANG companies, for example, right? But the thing that I think everyone runs into, whether they're a FANG or just a regular business, is how do I get these folks to change their behavior? This is tough. This is not easy to do. And there are various techniques to use, but something we've been looking at more and more here in Kanban University land is this idea of looking at what you might call A to B change or influencing change by putting in small amounts of change, and then looking at the picture from the perspective of what you might call a stressor. So, for example, you may want the team to. Here's a good one that I run into for years. The team needs to write up a status report, right? And every week they need to write a status report. Let's just say that's good behavior. And the team hates doing status reports. I hated them. I've never liked them a whole lot. So one of the things that we tried to get them to do over time was to simply put a sentence into a ticketing system or into a Kanban board system. So in this case, hey, once a day when you leave, just write a one sentence out for what you do and how you do it. And this took a long time to get the team to adopt this. It wasn't that they were resistant, it just wasn't a habit. So in this case, we had to have people in the team start to follow through. I actually tapped the shoulder of one lead developer and said, hey, can you do this? And maybe ask around. So I'm not always the person asking around to say, let's improve how we document what we're doing. And that actually took about 3 or 4 weeks, but they eventually caught on to doing this. And it was a combination of me talking with that person, asking them to basically take an act of leadership and talk with other individuals and see what their resistance was. Maybe even talk with them about why the benefit was there to write down what they did. And what happens is over time, you end up getting this great log of information, and it allowed me to defend them in conversations. So this is very important stuff to do. And this is just a very simple example of changing a team behavior. Another good one, for example, in the Kanban method is the idea of limiting how much we do and saying that there's a budget, more or less, or limit to the amount of things that we'll focus on. And that's a tough thing to do when you've got a lot of demands flying around. This is a harder one to achieve, but again, the same technique takes place. The idea of saying, what are we going to do? How do we start to say no to something, but not no, but necessarily not as much? And getting that limit in place is really tricky to do when you have multiple people on the team. You get calls and conversations and texts and chats from friends and coworkers who say, can you please do this for me, right? So this is a tough place to be, and this takes a lot of effort over time to get done. But when it happens, it's a really powerful thing to do. But again, what we're looking for are things like an act of leadership. We're looking at potentially a small practice, maybe not the full practice, but limiting how much we do for a certain amount of things or a certain kind of thing that we're working on. That's the beginning of really limiting overall how much you do. So these are simple things we do to change team behavior over time. It's not that easy to do, but again, it takes practice. And just a small plug, in this KMM environment that you probably are looking at or you eventually look at, there's actually a little place that we have for coaching practices. And if you look into that, you'll probably find even more detail about how to improve team behavior.